My name is Susan, a 45-year-old part-time housewife. My husband, Paul, is 48 years old. We have 2 teenage daughters who are going through a sensitive age. We had a peaceful married life without any trouble. However, that does not mean that I am completely satisfied. There are various things about my children, but my biggest dissatisfaction is with Paul. Paul is a person with old-fashioned ideas, for better or worse. He believes that all household chores and child-rearing are the wife's responsibility, and he does not do anything. In our married life so far, Paul has not even taken out the trash once. He did not even boil water, let alone cook. Even when I was unwell, Paul would shout,
"Don't be so spoiled. It's the wife's duty to do the housework."
I have never heard him say anything that shows concern for me. If he had at least put enough money into the house, I would have been less dissatisfied. However, Paul's income was low. It cannot be helped because of the recession, but honestly, it is tough to continue like this. My eldest daughter, who is in 12th grade, wants to go to a vocational school, and my second daughter wants to go to university. I knew that it would cost a lot of money. I was working part-time, but life became difficult, so I worked hard to become a full-time employee. Thanks to that, I am a little better off financially, but when I work, the time for housework is inevitably reduced. Sometimes I come home late due to overtime. My daughters are reliable, so they do what they can by themselves, but I am worried about leaving them alone at home. Fortunately, 2 years ago, I started living with my father, so I can feel a little relieved. The problem is Paul. Paul hates having his plans disrupted more than anything else.
"Hey, it's already 7 p.m. Isn't dinner ready yet?"
When I am late due to overtime, Paul always calls me. Even if I rush home, Paul is extremely unhappy and ignores me. Is he a child? Why don't you buy something? When I say that,
"Why should I have to do that when I'm tired?"
Paul gets angry. I am tired too. I was getting tired of such days with Paul. One holiday, Paul suddenly said he wanted to go for an early morning walk, so I rubbed my sleepy eyes and woke him up at the designated time. I really wanted to sleep in because I was tired from working overtime the day before, but I didn't want to hear him complain again, so I reluctantly followed him. After Paul returned from his walk, we had breakfast together and I said, "We're going to the hospital with my father on Monday." My father is elderly and has aged rapidly since my mother passed away 2 years ago. Since my parents' home is far away and I couldn't visit them frequently, I was worried. Then Paul said,
"My parents are dead, and your father is now my only relative. Should we live together?"
I was surprised. Thanks to that, my father is now living with us. My father's legs and back have become weak, and he is regularly examined at the hospital. Every time Paul takes him to the hospital, he asks,
"Is he okay?"
"He's fine, Paul." He said he has to be strong until he sees his great-grandchild. Paul and my father live together without any problems. When I thought Paul was worried about my father, he immediately denied it, saying,
"That's not it. It's just that accompanying someone to the hospital takes a lot of time and effort, and I'm asking if you have enough time to take care of the house. Can you prepare dinner properly? Can you clean? That's what I'm asking."
"Oh, everything is always about him first." I was speechless with disbelief. I sighed and said, "I'll manage somehow." Paul's selfish behavior is frequent. Paul has always lived as he pleased. He complains when I work late, but he doesn't even send me a message when he works overtime. When I send him a message asking why he's late, he responds with unreasonable anger, saying,
"It's overtime. Isn't that obvious?"
He doesn't say anything in advance about what he wants to do on holidays. Suddenly, he says,
"Let's go out as a family today."
He often says things like that. When I tell him I have something to do, he says,
"Cancel it."
It's ridiculous. Especially in the past year or so, he seems to have been working overtime more often and often doesn't eat dinner. He doesn't contact me, and when I ask him, he doesn't respond, so I have no choice but to prepare dinner. When I don't prepare dinner because I think he's working overtime, he comes home early and complains. Paul is really troublesome. I honestly don't want to spend my old age with just him. I found myself thinking about such things vaguely. On Monday, I went to the hospital with my father by car. As usual, we received the examination and were planning to leave after hearing the diagnosis from the doctor. He's still healthy. However, an unexpected situation occurred. What? The doctor in front of me had a difficult expression. My father next to me was silent and looking down. Cancer?
Yes. There is a suspicion of cancer in the endoscopic examination. Precise examination is necessary, so you will be hospitalized.
Such a thing! I was speechless. I don't remember what the doctor said after that. When I got home, my father said he wanted to be alone for a while and locked himself in his room. I saw the door of my father's room close and went into my bedroom and cried on the bed. That night, Paul, who seemed to have worked overtime, came home. He started drinking, so I talked about my father. Paul listened to me silently while drinking. I might neglect the housework because I'm busy with various things. Paul looked unhappy at my words but didn't say anything. I thought he understood, but I soon realized that my perception was wrong. On the holiday immediately after my father was hospitalized, both of my children were out and absent. I couldn't clean the house easily because of my father's hospitalization. While walking down the hallway with a vacuum cleaner, I heard a noise from my father's room. What? A thief? I thought so and held the hard pipe part of the vacuum cleaner like a weapon and looked into my father's room fearfully. I was surprised when I confirmed who was there. It was Paul. Paul, what are you doing? I regained my composure and asked in a loud voice.
"What?" "I'm throwing it away."
What?
Your father's belongings are no longer needed, right?
What is he doing? Paul is trying to throw away my father's personal belongings. Clothes bundled in a large bag, numerous favorite books tied with a string, and even albums are all thrown away as garbage. Why are you doing this? Stop it. Don't throw it away. When I tried to stop Paul in a hurry.
But your father has cancer, right? He won't survive anymore, so it's not necessary.
He said something outrageous. Cancer is still in the suspicion stage. Don't assume that he won't survive.
Your father has lost weight suddenly recently, right? There is no mistake. If your father is gone, this will be my room, so I'm cleaning up now.
Paul's room is still there.
Shut up. It's my selfishness.
My anger reached its peak with Paul's terrible words. Paul was originally selfish, but I thought that his relationship with my father was not bad. I was grateful to Paul for allowing us to live together, but this kind of treatment was too much.
I was against living together from the beginning. You also neglect the housework.
But you suggested living together, didn't you?
Yes, but there's no return for living together.
What do you mean?
Your father is surprisingly stingy. I thought he would give me some pocket money.
Did you expect that? I was so surprised that I couldn't say anything. I have been putting up with Paul's selfishness all along. However, this statement was too cruel. I screamed as I felt my anger. I'm going to divorce you. Get out of this house right now. Paul, who was pushed by my intense anger, left the house without taking anything. After a few days, I became calm and thought that it might be difficult to divorce just because of the insult to my father. However, I couldn't stand being with such a terrible person like Paul anymore. I went to the court to ask about the necessary procedures. Although it is now a convenient era where you can search for anything on the internet, I, an old-fashioned person, thought that it would be safer to ask the court. When I was looking around for the window, I witnessed an unexpected scene. I will reveal it later. Half a month after driving Paul out, he contacted me. He said he wanted to talk, so I let him in. Paul, who I met for the first time in half a month, looked healthy and unchanged. So what do you want to talk about?
I've been thinking, isn't it strange that I leave the house? You should leave.
Huh? Why?
I helped you live, so why do I have to leave?
What is he talking about? Has he forgotten already? This house is. The name of this house is my father's. It's the house my father bought, so it's natural for you to leave.
Oh, yeah.
I laughed at Paul's stupidity. Yes, this house belongs to my father. When we proposed living together, my father bought it for us. Until then, we lived in a small apartment. I felt sorry for receiving the full cost of the new house, but I decided to rely on my father. However, Paul complained that he didn't give him any pocket money even though he said he would live together. Has he forgotten who owns this house? Did he think that this was his house? This house belongs to me, the daughter, when my father passes away.
Oh, is that so? Well, whatever. Then it will be yours when your father passes away, and it will become our shared property.
What do you mean?
You said you would divorce me, right? Then it will be a property division. Then half of this house will be mine.
Sorry, but your interpretation is wrong. Inheritance from a biological parent to a child does not become a shared property of the husband's wife.
What? Really?
Well, it depends on the situation, and there may be exceptions, but this house is still my father's house.
Your father will soon be gone, so this house will be yours, right?
Don't decide that someone's father is going to die soon without permission. I will divorce you before my father passes away.
Huh? Then, I won't get divorced.
Is this person stupid? Does he think that if he says that, I will say that I won't get divorced? First of all, my father is still alive.
He has cancer, so he won't live long.
When Paul shouted that, a funny man with a funny way of speaking appeared. Yes, it was my father. Although his legs were weak, he was strangely energetic and high-tensioned.
Huh?
Paul was flustered. He probably didn't think that he was at home even though he was supposed to be hospitalized. Of course he is. It's natural because the examination is over. Of course he's at home.
What's going on?
I quietly told Paul, who was in a hurry. My father didn't have cancer.
Huh?
As a result of the precise examination, it was a benign polyp and was easily removed. His legs are weak as usual, but he is very healthy.
What do you mean?
In other words, I will live for a long time.
My father said with a smile on his face after my words.
Oh, my room that you messed up was hard to clean up. But since you're getting divorced and your room will be empty, I'll use it as a storage room, and my room will be bigger. Thank you for leaving.
No!
Was my father such a character? It seems that my father made a miracle recovery and gained a new life. He seems to have rejuvenated by 10 years. Paul, who was in a daze for a while, came to his senses and smiled awkwardly.
Ha, I see. You look healthy. Then, how about changing the name of the house to your daughter's name as a gift while you're still alive?
I won't do that. Hey, you're cheating a lot, aren't you? Do you want to say that you have manhood? That's ridiculous. You don't have any manhood with such a low income.
What?
I handed Paul several photos and documents in front of his flustered eyes. What is this? You said you were staying at a business hotel for the past half-month after leaving the house, but you were rolling into your mistress's house, right? Look, there's plenty of evidence here. The photos I presented were of Paul and his mistress, which I found out through a private detective, in an intimate moment. Yes, on that day I went to the court. I happened to find Paul. Paul was with a woman. They were even holding hands. I thought it was strange that your salary wasn't changing even though you were working overtime more often. You were going to the woman's place, weren't you?
No, I really was working overtime.
I asked the company. They told me that there has been no overtime for over a year due to the recession.
What? Really?
You were working overtime all the time, weren't you? So you've been cheating for over a year.
Aw.
I'm going to divorce you. Be prepared because I will claim compensation and child support.
Wait!
Get out of here!
Aw!
You already know what happened to Paul afterwards. I claimed compensation and child support from Paul and his mistress. Child support is until they turn 18, so they will receive it for a few more years. They have to pay it properly. Paul then moved in with his mistress. They became penniless due to the payment of compensation and moved to an old and small rental apartment, where they are forced to live in poverty. I heard that they lived together at first, but it didn't last a month. Maybe you think, why do I know? Because Paul cried to me in an email.
Listen, she doesn't do any housework at all. She wakes up and sleeps at random times, and doesn't take care of me at all. She always buys something for meals, doesn't clean, so the house is full of dust, and doesn't take out the garbage, so there's no place to step inside the house.
It seems that Paul's mistress was hiding her true nature to attract Paul. but her true nature was revealed when they lived together.
She doesn't work and just lounges around at home, so she got angry when I stepped on her not the garbage by mistake the other day. I can't take it anymore. Help me.
Why should I help you? I'm glad you can live with the person you wanted to be with, even if you had to pretend to work overtime. I can't ruin your happiness. Well, do your best. It's the punishment for making us fall.
I'm sorry. I'll help with the housework from now on, and I won't have a condescending attitude towards you. I'll also take care of your father.
It's too late. You should have thought about it earlier.
Wait!
I hung up the phone. Listening to the stupid story of a stupid man makes my ears itch. Afterwards, Paul seems to have abandoned his life with his mistress and ran away. The relationship was burning because of the spice of infidelity. If there is nothing to burn, it is a natural consequence that the fire will be extinguished. The woman's partner seems to have been abandoned by Paul, and I don't know what kind of life she has, but it's not too late to have a decent life. Paul's divorce after infidelity spread throughout the company, and he was particularly looked down upon by female employees, and his living conditions were said to be the worst. Well, I don't know anything about it. Our house, where Paul is gone, is still happy with my daughter. Paul was hardly ever at home, and even when he was there, they had no emotions for him because they were tired of his arrogant attitude. They even said they were happy, and laughed. Well, it's adolescence, so there's nothing else but disgust for my father's infidelity. They say they won't invite him to the wedding, but that's probably going to be true. As for my father, he's completely healthy now and has been going out a lot lately. He seems to be having fun at the senior club and has become friendly with the ladies, saying it's an elderly love. Please continue to live long and healthy, Dad. Me? I'm struggling with work and housework today. There are no more obstacles. I want to prepare for a fun retirement from now on.
How was this story? Please subscribe to the channel. See you in the next video.